Welcome back, racers, to the KDL. We just had our first playoff match between Aura and Rox Esports. Aura takes down Rox Esports, knocks him out of Preseason 1. Aura will now await to find out their next opponent, who will be decided by this match between the KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX. First up on stage is KWANGDONGFREECS.
And this matchup has been talked about so many times throughout the preseason as being the Goliaths coming in to clash against each other, and it still is even today. KWANGDONGFREECS, they had a beautiful start to the season, and then they ended it on a loss. They're hoping they don't have another loss here to top that.
Yeah, I mean, KWANGDONGFREECS, I mean, let's be very honest, Aura has been looking better and better, but they also looked a little bit off tempo in their last round robin match over on Wednesday. Curious to see if they've shored that up. Of course, their opponents, Liiv SANDBOX. Now, last time they faced off against each other, Liiv SANDBOX not able to run their full 5. And now they return in full force to get their revenge.
Liiv SANDBOX, this is the full roster now. They are back in their full strength. We see Neil leading the pack, and I know he loves his KDL player card. He shows that to the camera sometimes.
Yeah, he really holds on to that. Of course, the rest of the lineup looking just as strong as well. Insu, Hyunsu, Seungha, and Jimin. And, I mean, of course, for those of you who have been following the team, you know Insu and Seungha, they will actually, this will be their last preseason here, or their season rather, in KDL and in Cartwriter, as they do have to enter military service, mandatory military service out here in Korea. And so, of course, while there is still solo mode, I mean, they're trying to make sure their last dance continues here as they go up against the KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yep, if they lose here against KWANGDONGFREECS, they're not going to lose their tournament life because they have a chance to go against Aura next. But obviously, you want to have a clean win here and guarantee your spot in the finals. KWANGDONGFREECS, this really just summarizes it well. All team members are indeed aces.
Yeah, I mean, they've been seeing that, and they've been proving it so far. They've had 2 different ace matches. 2 different racers have gone out to those ace matches, and they've still won both of them as well. So, curious. Oh, and they just say, all right, Insu and Seungha, take care of yourselves. Come back safely. About, approximately 2 years of service required. So, saying farewell already. Geez, like you said, Peter, even if they lose today, they're not out yet. KWANGDONGFREECS a little early for that.
Yeah, 2 years is a very long time. Definitely got to maintain your health because a lot of things can happen in that time. So hopefully Insu and Seungha, their last dance here today, they'll be able to perform at their best.
Yeah, well, of course, they try to continue their last dance here over for Insu and Seungha. Now we do have Liiv SANDBOX's full roster. The captain's order to go straight to the finals was given. Well, I mean, that's what they would want, right? They don't want to have to go through another race tomorrow. Just win today, get to the grand finals, take a little break, make sure the opponents have to go through yet another race against Aura.
And you look at this combo coming in from Hyunsu and Seungha in the speed average rank. You can tell that these 2 players are the main 1-2 combos for Liiv SANDBOX, and I'm excited to see what they bring to the table today.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a team to be laughed at by any means, of course, but it's harder to write this one line than analyzing our opponents.
That's true.
I mean, I'm curious, though. Is it because you're just bad at trash talk, or is it really because you don't think there's anything to analyze for KWANGDONGFREECS? You could take it both ways, but Liiv SANDBOX just having a little bit of fun here with the taunt today.
Yeah, it definitely can be taken in both meanings, whichever the case. A clever spin on words from Liiv SANDBOX there. And honestly, when it comes to the speed mode where we start with, I don't know where the edge is. Both teams are so evenly matched.
Yeah, of course, we'll have to wait to see the bans and picks as well. I mean, both of them having great records across multiple tracks. KWANGDONGFREECS just having the best record so far in team matches. Obviously, theirs is going to look a lot better, especially in speed mode. And KWANGDONGFREECS, they did have, of course, the #1 seed, so they get to choose speed priority. Insu just telling everyone to cheer up that he's still here at a race today. So we get to still watch and enjoy a little bit of Insu. But KWANGDONGFREECS, they're going to take over Glacier Extreme Stadium as their first pick.
And we see Liiv SANDBOX coming in right back with the 4 Zigzag Timberland. We've seen Neil have fantastic performances here. When he gets a lead, he doesn't give it up. But KWANGDONGFREECS also has a 100% win rate.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are going to have crazy high win rates across pretty much every track. So can't count into that one too much. But yeah, a little curious about the Glacier Extreme Stadium start. Maybe just wanted to start off on something a bit simpler here in round 1. Of course, it is a best of 7. Now, the first bans have already come through. Construction Chaos being banned out by SANDBOX. Meanwhile, Winding Slopes being banned out by Guangdong.FREECS.
So Liiv SANDBOX actually never played a match before in Desert Construction Chaos, so that is definitely why they must have banned it. While for Guangdong.FREECS taking out Mine Winding Slopes, you have to wonder because they did have a win in Winding Slopes, while Liiv SANDBOX, they played only one match there and they lost. So you would assume they have an advantage, at least statistically, but not the case.
Yeah, I mean, now that was the track that they had a lot of trouble in against Aura on Wednesday, so I wonder if they're just saying, listen, something's not right with this track with us right now, let's just ban it out. Meanwhile, Terracotta Twister has been a go-to pick here for the Guangdong.FREECS, so no surprise that they pick it up right away in round 3. Meanwhile, Desert Pharaoh's Pass. Now, that's another one that SANDBOX hasn't played. SANDBOX actually has been cycling through the same tracks for the entirety of Preseason 1. They haven't played 5 out of the 12 tracks so far, Pharaoh's Pass and Construction Chaos being 2 of those.
Yeah, and that's reflected in the ban coming in from SANDBOX for the second track. It's Rickety Rails, another track they never played, while Guangdong.FREECS, they take out New York Rally. And once again, this is a track that they've had success in, but they're maybe identifying that Liiv SANDBOX is potentially really good at there as well.
Okay, Boom Hill Tunnel now comes out. Once again, another track that SANDBOX just hasn't played. We're getting so many first looks at Liiv SANDBOX's team speed mode today. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, Boom Hill Tunnel, definitely a stranger pick here, but it's definitely exciting to open that box. Now we see World Tour Boostwood being finalized by the Guangdong.FREECS. So if we go all the way down to that round 7, which I think definitely could happen here in a matchup like this, it's going to be interesting to see which team is going to break that 100% win rate.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we look at the later part, Bridge Run, Bayside Bridge Run, Boom Hill Tunnel, things like that. I mean, that's 2 tracks in a row that we haven't seen here from Liiv SANDBOX, so curious to see what they've cooked up. But again, in terms of just pure stats, both these teams have incredible stat lines across multiple tracks, so it's really just going to come down to, do you have any new builds today? How do you adjust to each other? And of course, how do you play your positions? Now, next up will be the picks and bans here for item mode.
Item mode is where things get completely different. We do have pick priority here for Liiv SANDBOX, and I feel like they had a lot of success in the World Tour tracks as well as Factory Cogwheel Crush. I wonder if one of them, yep, World Tour London Night is going to be the one. Yeah,
this has been one of their favorite maps to pick up here in item mode, so I think Guangdong.FREECS probably not surprised about that one at all, as we see, of course, these teams both with pro team infrastructure and support, their coaches on stage as well, helping going through the track ban and pick list.
Man, Cogwheel Crush is really interesting coming in from Guangdong.FREECS because they play that one the most, but they have a 50% win rate, while Liiv SANDBOX, they played 4 times and have a 75%. And we see also a ban coming in from Guangdong.
Yeah, so they couldn't ban out, of course, London Night because SANDBOX had priority. They pick it up first, but they will still ban out Gangnam Streets, which is another one that SANDBOX has been very good at. Of course, just now on camera right there. Seungha, also one of the racers who will be going to the military, their mandatory military service here after this preseason.
Definitely the last dance, but the players are looking very positive. They know they want to end here on a positive note. Magma Cavern being picked up by SANDBOX now. And this is a track that both teams have an equal record on, so it's going to be a sight to see the rivalry match happen.
Yeah, now that's another track that SANDBOX loves to pick up as well, so no surprise. Now Pharaoh's Pass coming out here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another one where there's the 2 big jumps there towards the end, right? One to get back onto the roof, and then you have to drop back down towards the finish line. Curious to see. Obviously, you can see some crazy shenanigans there with speed decreases or magnets trying to drop people into the pit.
Pharaoh's Pass is definitely a tricky track to work around, but we do see now the ban coming in from Guangdong.FREECS. Factory Brody's Gloom is going to get taken out, and they have a pretty bad record in that track, whereas Liiv SANDBOX, they're looking really great there. So I love that ban, and you have to wonder if you're Liiv SANDBOX, Guangdong.FREECS, you have to potentially wonder that you're the better team than them in item mode. So what is their weakness?
All right, Istanbul Sunset Plaza being banned out. I was curious if we're going to see a ban on Mushroom Caves from either team, just because that has been a priority ban against both of these teams. Opponents obviously wanting to avoid that track, both of them having a pretty healthy record there. But I guess, you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and make a prediction. That's probably just staying until round 7, right? Maybe Liiv SANDBOX maybe not even picking that up as the last track, just letting it fall through. Okay, KWANGDONGFREECS, they say, well, our last pick will go with what we're confident in.
You definitely call that one out. And now the final pick from SANDBOX is going to be Glacier Polar Halfpipe. We do see a very poor win rate on the side of KWANGDONGFREECS there as opposed to Liiv SANDBOX. So I like that strategic pickup.
Okay, interesting lineups in the tracks on both speed and item mode. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the upper bracket final here between KWANGDONGFREECS versus Liiv SANDBOX. We will be kicking things off in a best of 7 for both speed and then item mode. Of course, if the teams take one each, we will be going to that glorious ace match.
Glorious ace match. We didn't get that from Rocks today, so hopefully we're able to see that in the matchup between the two titans here as we take a look at the speed track list again. We are starting off on Glacier Extreme Stadium, picked up by KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, and then we'll be going over to Zigzag Timberland. Liiv SANDBOX, no stranger to that. Then Terracotta Twister. Freaks love to play on that track. And then we start to get into some new territory here from Liiv SANDBOX, entering Pharaoh's Pass, Bayside Bridge Run, Boom Hill Tunnel, and last but not least, if we get there, it will be World Tour Boost to it.
Yep, if we get there. Hopefully we get there.
I mean, I think there's a good chance. You know, I think the picks and bans quite curious here. Liiv SANDBOX happily picking up a lot of these tracks that they just have not shown yet in Preseason 1. So KWANGDONGFREECS not sure what to expect exactly. Meanwhile, Winding Slopes kind of being that first ban from Freaks. A little surprising, but they had a rough time on it. And the last time these two played against each other, that was a track where Spear had the incredible stop on the last jump to bump away 2 members of Liiv SANDBOX into the wall. So maybe they're just accepting, all right, that was a little bit of luck on our sides. We don't want to take that risk again.
Yeah, that was such a high-level play that back then when I watched it live, I actually didn't really understand what happened.
Yeah,
I thought it was
just happens kind of all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, I thought it was the track itself, but it was actually a clutch block. And we have so many fans here today for both Liiv SANDBOX and KWANGDONGFREECS, cheering them on as we get ready to enter speed track number 1, Glacier Extreme Stadium.
And we're off. KWANGDONGFREECS versus Liiv SANDBOX to find out which team will get to the grand finals of the first ever preseason here at the KDL.
So far, we have Hyunsu leading out with Seungha. This is looking really good because that is the combo from Liiv SANDBOX that usually has a really high average ranking. World and Cool making sure to contest that, however.
Yeah, now my big question is, Insu, of course, playing Team Match so well. I mean, fans of Insu love watching him actually in the team mode specifically, and whenever he's playing in these 8-man solo races as well, because he loves to maneuver around the middle of the pack very aggressively. Meanwhile, KWANGDONGFREECS, all 4 players happy to get into these physical fights.
You know, you have to give a lot of credits here to World, making sure to prevent Hyunsu from getting that 1-2 once again as he's going for the cut. He drops off the map, and now it's only Cool left for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Oh no, KWANGDONGFREECS, we're starting to see a little bit of those mistakes we saw against Aura as well. This time around, Cool and Spear trying to get some extra cuts. Spear, Cool actually just kind of running into that as well. Now they're at the wall. I mean, KWANGDONGFREECS, what's been going on? They just do not look as clean as they used to.
Insu, he managed to get some priority off that and blocked out the members of KWANGDONGFREECS even more, pushing them into the walls. Once again, you can see him blocking out Spear, only Sungbin managing to find a way out.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, they currently have 1, 2, and 3, but even without that, World is pretty much guaranteed in 8th place. And after that, Sungbin and Cool still in 6 and 7 as well. Liiv SANDBOX in such a healthy position. Spear doing what he can, but he would have to minimum break into 1st place, and then his teammates would have to catch up, but they're so far behind.
Absolutely devastating here for KWANGDONGFREECS. Only chance right now, Spear, to try to break that 1-2 in Seungha and Hyunsu, but they are so far away.
Yeah, I don't think he can even catch up to Hyunsu right now. And Seungha and Hyunsu, they're going to get in side by side for that 1-2 finish. And it's going to be a quick and easy victory on track 1 here for Liiv SANDBOX.
Man, World falling off the track there as he took the tightest turns he tried, but he didn't have enough momentum to actually make it across. And at that point, it felt like the cohesion in KWANGDONGFREECS really crumbled as everyone tried to now take over for World, dropping out of that top 4, and Insu was able to find a lot of clutch blocks in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I am curious what's been going on with the Freaks. We started to see this a little bit with Aura as well, where they started to kind of play on their own, right? Each of them having their own idea of what their win condition is, going for, you know, whether it's some of these aggressive sweeps, maybe even just trying to go for these straight boosts or trying to bump into the wall to get an aggressive stop against their opponents. These very high-risk, high-reward plays, but if it's not done as a team, it's not going to come out in benefit for your side.
And probably the most concerning part, we'll get to that in a second, but as we take a look at the replay here, this is already past the point where World dropped, and we can just see how much chaos it created. Even Cool, who never loses his cool, he crashes into the wall.
Yeah, I mean, and that one I can't imagine was going to be an intentional stop, because it's not like he was trying to make way for his teammates. He was already in a position where he needed to catch up to the two members of Liiv SANDBOX, and that's when they were able to be up in the first two positions. A little bit of play on words, but still cheering on for SANDBOX. Don't let them fool you. They are still a fan of SANDBOX on that side. Well, ladies and gentlemen, currently it's going to be the lead for SANDBOX as we enter track number 2. It's Forest Zigzag Timberland.
We begin our speed round number 2 between KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX. Neil actually holding the best record here. No surprise, because I keep mentioning Neil as one of the star players of Zigzag Timberland.
Yeah, and the way they do that is, I mean, similar to how Aura likes to maneuver, right? They just send Neil up front there, you know, SANDBOX right now already positioned for that, and then the rest of his teammates make sure to block for him. He's able to just go with his own build to stay up front, and looks like they're well on their way to do so. Once again, Hyunsu and Neil, Seungha right behind him, Insu just in charge of making sure that KWANGDONGFREECS stays in 7th and 8th.
Complete domination right now from Liiv SANDBOX, has a firm control over that 1-2. Insu just staying back to collide with you.
Yeah, nice pass from World though, and Seungha, as he was trying to block against World, he misses that opportunity, and now he's made way for a couple other members as well. So now Insu trying to catch back up. Of course, you're gonna have a good chance to catch back up here in the zigzag section at the end of the track.
Right now we have Insu trying to do some catch up, but KWANGDONGFREECS, they have a pretty consistent duo right now in Spear and World. They are sticking together, trying to get the draft off each other, but Neil and Hyunsu are so far away still.
Yeah, this is the problem, is that Spear has to make sure he's sweeping against Insu as well, but that means World has to get up there on his own, and meanwhile Spear misses the opportunity, just a bit of an off angle, and Insu's able to keep his momentum, but this time Insu also trying to sweep against him. But this is still an advantage for Liiv SANDBOX, because they're holding on to that 1-2 position. Throughout that entire time, World just hasn't had a chance to catch up.
Absolutely no shot, especially now with Seungha up here to try to sweep him out of the way. World being pressured right now to take some good lines, but how can you take the good lines when Seungha keeps distracting you?
Yeah, I mean, again, World, he's having to play both offense and defense, and while he can hold on to number 3, he can't get into 1 and 2. Now Seungha making sure he passes by Spear, so he's constantly pressuring World. Like you said, Peter, this puts all the pressure in World to try to make sure he goes for high-risk, high-reward plays, but if you can't break 1-2, you're going to lose yet another track on the side of KWANGDONGFREECS.
World trying to do just that. He's been trying this whole entire 2 laps. He's not able to find the angle here. Seungha with the beautiful block out. Insu!
What a great play. Double team from Insu and Seungha, where they basically juggle World in between them. Eventually sends him flying into the wall, and it's Neil and Hyunsu for another 1-2 finish here for Liiv SANDBOX.
1-2, 3-3 finish for Liiv SANDBOX.
Perfect finish here for SANDBOX.
When have you seen that, especially coming up against a team like KWANGDONGFREECS? Now, Liiv SANDBOX, they're leading out 2-0 here in speed, looking super dominant.
Uh-oh, KWANGDONGFREECS. I mean, it's a little early to tell, but so far in terms of just the momentum, SANDBOX running away with it. I mean, a 1, 2, 3, 4, even a tie here in 3rd place to really cement the fact that they have a perfect finish here. I mean, what a way to continue your last dance if you're Insu and Seungha, right? Really proving that they are the gems of the team match here for Liiv SANDBOX.
Liiv SANDBOX, their form is crazy, and their class is eternal, our fans are saying. And I think, for sure, all the fans today for Liiv SANDBOX are super happy with what they're seeing from their favorite teams. As we take a look at the replay, there were a lot of collisions in the back here, while Neil and Hyunsu at this point, they were just keeping 1-2.
Yeah, but I mean, look at that setup there. Seungha making way for Insu as he goes for the wider drift. He's going to have that momentum to sweep against World, and that just really puts the nail in the coffin. Kwangdong Freaks fans are going to have to put some more power behind their cheers, because right now, everything pointing the way of Liiv SANDBOX.
Absolutely. Kwangdong Freaks, they want to try to find a comeback angle here. It is their track of choice. Number 3, World Tour Terracotta Twister.
And the race begins. This time, the record being held by Seungha on the side of Liiv SANDBOX, so there are no strangers here. But as a team, this has been a big favorite for Kwangdong Freeks, as Hyunsu just not wasting any time, making sure that he just cuts right on the inside to get back into first place.
Hyunsu and Seungha, such a runner ace for the team of Liiv SANDBOX. They are able to capitalize on their positions in the top 4 almost every single track, it feels like. And now, the main question is, World, are you going to make a big slip up here? Because this is where it gets really tricky in Terracotta Twister.
Yeah, I mean, you're only in lap 1. I don't think you have to get too greedy here in the first lap. You just have to make sure you're watching out for the aggression potentially coming up from Liiv SANDBOX, and that's exactly what happens from Kwangdong Freeks. They're always positioning just for recovery in that first lap. Of course, that might change in lap 2.
Sungbin with the beautiful recovery there. It felt like he almost was going to fall off the track because he was forced into such a tight line, but here he is taking so many clutch blocks against Liiv SANDBOX. This is looking much better for Kwangdong Freeks.
Yeah, now this is something we've seen before on Terracotta Twister for Liiv SANDBOX as well, where Neil, if he's not able to get to the lead, he does struggle to catch back up, as he's now been pretty much targeted by Cool. He's slowly trying to climb back in by gaining the team boost for his team, but right now, all eyes on Spear versus Hyunsu for that #1 spot.
Yeah, Spear took a little collision there, but not really anything effective. It's not killed his momentum. He's still up there contesting Hyunsu. Now, Liiv SANDBOX all of a sudden moving up into positions, coming in like a pack of hyenas, trying to take away the momentum from Kwangdong Freeks.
Yeah, and Spear, he can't try to go for an aggressive stop, but he is going to be able to go through and get that first spot. Meanwhile, now it's a battle between the top 4, as Cool trying to catch up to see if he can provide support, maybe overtake Insu and really cement this. Liiv SANDBOX currently
Insu.
2, 3, 5, 7. Can they hold on to that? Insu trying to hold on to 5. Cool, can he overtake him? No!
My goodness, that was such a crazy race back and forth till the end. But it is Liiv SANDBOX who manages to find the advantage through their 2, 3, 5, 7, 20-19. Man, that could have gone either way.
Yeah, and I think, I gotta imagine right there at the end of, that tomb section, the indoor section, now I'm starting to think it had to have been an intentional, safer route, just drifting over on the outside. Make sure you don't fall off, because you're confident that you're holding on to the middle of the pack. Liiv SANDBOX looking for either a 2-3-4 or 2-3-5-7 intentionally, not wanting to take a risk and maybe lose all of your leading positions. Well, either way, it pays off, and they are now 3-0 in speed mode.
And how could you expect that, right? Coming into the postseason, Kwangdong Freeks, they were undefeated for the longest time, and now we see a cheerful and a salute come back with a healthy body. Yeah,
to Insu and Seungha, and he was also he had a little side note saying, Insu, you're my role model. I hope you get the double victory this preseason. Of course, he meaning both in team mode and solo mode. I mean, the team matches and solo matches, if he can do that, that would be incredible. Insu, despite having such a big following, not able to set such a record like that, but he's well on his way this time as they're leading 3-0 in speed mode against Kwangdong Freeks as we enter track number 4. It's Desert Pharaoh's Pass.
Off we go into round number 4 of speed mode. We have Hero from Aura holding the track record, so let's see if a member from one of these two teams can break it.
Yeah, Pharaoh's Pass, not particularly a difficult track, but of course, right there in that section, the way you want to cut can be a little difficult. You're going to be very conscious of your own builds, and as we get towards the later jumps, right, I mean, your timing on your boost and your angle for this couple drifts right near the end is going to matter quite a bit, as Kwangdong Freeks currently holding on to the 1-2.
Oh no, that collision!
Spear bumping into the wall again. The Freaks, all their racers have had some nasty collisions the past couple races.
It is definitely not looking good for Guangdong Freaks as they have Spear and Sungbin now in that 6-7 position. This is match point for Liiv SANDBOX. So Guangdong Freaks, they got to keep World up there in first position. Cool. This is the guy that is able to consistently be top 4. He needs to find that now.
Yeah, meanwhile, Liiv SANDBOX is playing it a lot safer here on these jumps, making sure that, as long as we don't make mistakes, we can hold on to either 1-3-4 or 2-3-4, secure that victory. So they're very well aware of their win condition now, all up to Spear. Outside of that, Cool and Sungbin, they are so far behind, you cannot rely on them right now. Spear has to try to break the formation here, or it's up to World to go for a hard stop, try to knock out both Insu and Neil.
There's a lot of strategies on the table for Guangdong Freaks, but the hard part is choosing the right one as we come here right now. Collisions did happen for Insu there. He is going to fall behind.
1-2! Spear breaks through and he's able to secure it. World hold on to number 1. What an incredible comeback here for Guangdong Freaks. A great drift on the inside, knocking away the members over on Liiv SANDBOX, and Guangdong Freaks recovering their match life right now as they want to also try to get to that grand finals first ahead of Liiv SANDBOX.
And they managed to find that win on Liiv SANDBOX's choice of track, so I'm sure that is going to kick up the morale for this team, and World setting a new track record.
Yeah, even with all that contention, right? All that pressure of people trying to catch up to him actually trying to overtake here right at the very end. A great race from both World and Spear. And a great setup here, Guangdong Freaks. They will not go down in a clean sweep. They are trying to bring this back in a reverse sweep in speed mode.
Yeah, and the cameraman knew World was a MVP of that match because it was absolutely crucial that World kept maintaining that top 2 position for Guangdong Freaks, which gave them the window to later on come in for a 1-2.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? We'll probably actually have to jump into the next track, and I'll get to it there. But once again, it's about those builds, right? Guangdong Freaks, they mostly run 6-2-6-0, but Spear actually running that 5-2-5-2. And that's why we see him in so many of these clutch positions. He has just a bit more boost time compared to his teammates.
Wow.
Oh, he actually just weaves in between the members of Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, he took the tightest inner curve there, and that was able to completely block out the line from Liiv SANDBOX. So a player tried to adjust to that, take the outer, and he crashed into the wall.
Yeah, just making sure he's kind of playing mind games against both of his opponents ahead of him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, can they make a reverse sweep? We're going to find out as we go to the next track. Yet another one that we have not seen here from Liiv SANDBOX in the team speed mode. It's Village Bayside Bridge Run. And the race continues between Guangdong Freaks and Liiv SANDBOX. Again, one of the wider tracks here in speed mode where you're not going to be able to get too aggressive with your sweeps, but if it's between the Freaks and SANDBOX, anything could happen.
This is still match point for Liiv SANDBOX. Guangdong Freaks, they're trying to make the reverse sweep happen. They've taken that first step, and now they're here. Spear and World with the 1-2 looking phenomenal.
Yeah, keeping my eye also on Insu, see if he ever just tries to come up and create some chaos here. A nice block from Sungbin, making sure it doesn't affect Cool either. That gives Cool an opportunity to catch back up. Everyone trying to cut, but we saw it right there. Sungbin trying to go for a quick swift cut, but he's going to miss the sweep against Insu, and Insu able to secure 7th place.
You look at World and Spear, they're looking so good right now so far in the first lap. We see Hyunsu finally being able to break that 1-2, but their recovery from Guangdong Freaks, it's so good.
Yeah, Neil right behind as well, so probably not going to agree too much here towards the end. Yep, Hyunsu and Neil. Neil actually just taking a bit of a separate build here to catch up, make sure he's here to support Hyunsu. Spear with a nice block, but that actually almost makes way for Neil. So he meanwhile takes another build here to block off both members. Spear is playing a 1v2, but he loses to his speed on the wall.
Yeah, right now, Hyunsu and Neil did manage to find a way to pass Spear. Spear now coming in with a tighter line than Neil, being able to take that positional advantage. However, you look at Neil and Insu, they are completely blocking out Cool and Sungbin right now.
Yeah, and the real point here is Sungbin also making sure he locks out Seungha in 8th place. That gives him a couple more options to play with, even if World isn't able to hold on to that #1 spot. But all 4 players bunched up in the top 4. Guangdong Freaks understanding that they can get 2-3-4 or 2-3-5-7. They do not have to get too aggressive, but if they can keep 1-2, it would absolutely secure that victory.
Oh, the build from Zhong!
Yeah, 4 members trying to overtake that way, but it's not going to have an opening.
Wow.
World, Cool, and Spear with a 1-2-3 finish.
You can see the new meta really being set by Jung there. We haven't seen this happen before in Bayside Bridge Run, where so many players are taking that outer upper side pavement, but it was KWANGDONGFREECS who was able to find the cleanest lines there. 1, 2, 3 finish. What a domination.
Well, especially in team mode as well, the risk of letting an opponent get on that sidewalk is that then they can not only try to really go for a tight inside turn, but they could also just go for a straight boost at the corner, try to knock out one of your leading racers, right? And so I think that, we saw both teams, one team trying to aggress on that side, meanwhile FREECS entering the sidewalk to make sure they can block for their teammates. So mind games on top of mind games, but at the end it's just going to be a safe finish here from the KWANGDONGFREECS.
And what can we say? KWANGDONGFREECS right now, they brought up the score to a 2-3 against Liiv SANDBOX. They are 2 steps of the way to making a reverse sweep happen. They just need 2 more to make it a final.
Well, KWANGDONGFREECS, can they make the reverse sweep happen? They want that speed mode win before they have to face off against Liiv SANDBOX's crafty item mode. We'll find out as we go to yet another track. That's the first time for SANDBOX. It's Village Boom Hill Tunnel.
Here we go in speed round number 6. KWANGDONGFREECS World is actually holding the best record here. Let's see if he's able to use some of that skills to good use.
Yeah, now of course, right near the end of this track, as you get back into the town area, there are some amazing 90-degree zigzags. Oh, just a little bit of a bump here and there, but I'm curious, do we see any spin turns? Do we see any hard stops there?
We see this time to time from Insu where he takes a completely different build from the rest of the players. This time, he couldn't find anything crazy, but he's trying to take out Spear, but Spear with the counter punch.
Yeah, Spear with some good defense there. But he's right now in a 3v1. Even he knows that he can't try to get too aggressive. Meanwhile, yeah, he's trying to recover. He actually gets another collision against the wall as well. So Insu just now trying to keep Spear tied down. Meanwhile, Neil trying to hold on to that #1 spot.
The collisions were so good here on this turn, completely turning the tides of the standings. Now it's Liiv SANDBOX with a 2-3.
Yeah, Neil with a nice jump onto the railing as well. We've seen that build before. Do we see anything craftier? Neil just trying to decrease a little bit to make sure he plays it safe. Meanwhile, he's going to try to get out of the...
Neil.
Oh, Sungbin just blocks him off from landing safely on the track. And Neil's going to get knocked all the way back down to 7th place.
Now it's a 1-2 holding, but the Hyunsu with the great line is able to break that. Unfortunately, it's not enough. KWANGDONGFREECS with the overall advantage coming in 1-3-4. That's going to seal the deal.
Oh, Neil slows down on the 90-degree zigzag there to try to make sure he doesn't get knocked out by any crazy straight boost. And because of that, Sungbin actually able to slowly inch him out on that shortcut jump. Forces Neil to land on the edge of the sidewalk, get a nice little bump, slow him all the way down to 7th place.
And what a comeback right now for KWANGDONGFREECS. They're tying it 3-3. Earlier they were down 0-3. One more and it's their win to take for the speed mode.
I mean, listen, I expect no less between these two teams, especially in speed mode. Both of them having some crazy speed demons on a variety of tracks. A little fist bump happening between Neil and Insu. Meanwhile, KWANGDONGFREECS, I mean, I think Liiv SANDBOX, they're much more lighthearted. Obviously, they feel a bit more confident on the side of item mode as well, but KWANGDONGFREECS, they desperately want this win as we go down to the wire. It's going to be track number 7 between KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX as we go to World Tour Boostwood. And the race begins, tied 3-3 in speed mode. KWANGDONGFREECS wanting to get that guaranteed 1-set win here as they go up against Liiv SANDBOX in the upper bracket finals.
I feel like Cool hasn't had much of a spotlight today here in the team speed mode, but he holds the best record here in Boostwood, and we can see that being reflected right now. He is the highest ranking member out of KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, see if he can just break through the upper echelons here. Hyunsu and Insu, the Su duo, we haven't seen them in the lead together in a long time. Insu oftentimes being relied on to control the middle of the pack here in team matches, but right now he's given the opportunity to really make a name for himself here on Boostwood.
Now we see Sungbin, he does get slowed down a bit. It's now cool. He gets blocked out a little bit there by Hyunsu. They're looking to try to stop this Su duo dominance.
Yeah, now this is the thing about a track like Boost, but it's wide enough that even with a little bit of that stopping and blocking coming in from the lead, Cool able to just stay, with the pack, even overtaking Hyunsu just for a brief moment there. You're not going to get bumped into a wall entirely. There's a lot more room for recovery.
Now we see once again, Liiv SANDBOX looking unfazed so far. We are in the second lap. Neil trying to be that sweeper, trying to take out Sungbin.
Yeah, but Liiv SANDBOX just seems to have a slight better grasp on their overall team boost management right now, and I'm curious to see if KWANGDONG can they overcome that, because with their 6-2-6-0 builds, they actually need to control their boost a lot more carefully to be able to keep up with the likes of Liiv SANDBOX.
Spear trying to break through that defense of Hyunsu like a spear, but he's unable to as Hyunsu finds a way to recover constantly.
Yeah, and World constantly being contended against Seungha as well, but Spear somehow gets into first place. Can he hold on to this? We still need Cool to be able to catch back up, though, right at the end. No, it's not going to be enough. Insu actually crosses the finish line first. It's a 1-3-4 finish here for Liiv SANDBOX as they take the 4-3 victory in speed mode.
The Su duo was too consistent here in Boostwood. We talked about Cool having the best personal track record, but it didn't really pay off for KWANGDONG this time. Liiv SANDBOX, after a really tough last 3 matches, they're able to come back.
Yeah, and you can see the relief on Neil, right? Of course, Neil, he's done his part now. He can sit out during the item mode and watch his teammates. He's helped bring victory in speed mode here. Happy to bring that home for his teammates. But that's a 4-3 victory. I mean, KWANGDONGFREECS, an excellent attempt to try to bring this back to a reverse sweep, but now they have to face the item mode monsters in Liiv SANDBOX.
It's definitely going to be a point of concern when Liiv SANDBOX can simply swap out Neil, and knowing how great of a player Neil is, that just puts emphasis on how great their item ace is. And you can see World, he is definitely looking a bit pressured.
Yeah, I mean, KWANGDONGFREECS, they just haven't looked as dominant as they did in the beginning of the season. Now, just a bit earlier, we saw fans saying, Insu, let's go to the finals, but I don't want you to go to military service. A little bit of a sad send-off here. Of course, if you missed it, Insu and Seungha, this will be their last season, and then they will both have to enter their mandatory military service.
And now we do see Jimin being swapped in. We've seen Jimin quite a lot on the roster of Liiv SANDBOX this season, not only in item mode, also in solo mode, or solo match rather, where he was able to make it across and move on to the group of 16. So definitely a strong player here as we take a look at the item track list.
Yeah, we went through the picks and bans earlier, but Liiv SANDBOX continuing with their trusty, reliable World Tour London night. And then they went ahead and picked Magma Cavern and Mother Lode over on round 3 and 5. Meanwhile, the FREECS starting things off with Cogwheel Crush and then bringing things to Barrows Pass.
You have to wonder, KWANGDONGFREECS, do they have it in them? Their only shot now is to take this to an ace match. If they lose, they're not out of tournament contention, but they want that clean win.
Yeah, now so far in the regular season, I mean, Liiv SANDBOX 6-1 in item mode. Of course, that one loss being up against Rocks in a crazy anomaly of a match. But meanwhile, KWANGDONGFREECS, I mean, they're kind of half and half, right? 4-3 record so far in item mode. That has never been their strong suit. And now that they've lost the speed mode, they need to win this item mode to try to take it to another ace match.
SANDBOX is able to find the 8-3 and able to go home instantly.
Well, we'll see if that can happen as we enter item mode. KWANGDONGFREECS put up a fight on speed mode. Will they bring things back as we go to World Tour London night? Item mode begins between KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX. SANDBOX currently with the speed mode win. If they're able to get 4 tracks here in item mode, they will win 2-0 and enter the grand finals first.
We saw Spear and Jimin slowing down, gathering the items for the team, and now we see Cool holding on to that lightning, and we've seen Aura use that to some great success today. I'm sure he's waiting for the opportunity when Seungha actually uses the Angel. No, he's going to use it now.
All right, just cycling through. Of course, Linden I saw a 3-lapper earlier. We saw it as well in the previous match. But Hyunsu not having any fun in the last 5 seconds, but he'll eventually be able to catch back up.
I didn't know there was a CC chain in Kart Rider Drift.
Well, sometimes it can happen, and Trust me, it gets very infuriating if you're on the receiving end. But we'll see. Of course, I mean, in item mode, there is kind of that catch-up mechanic as you go through. It's really more about the item usage.
I saw Sungbin throw that water bomb there, and it felt like he just threw it away more
I think
than
so.
anything.
Yeah, I think he was just throwing it away. Didn't want to mess with, you know, the potential setup from his own teammates up front. So just cycling through here as we enter lap 2 out of 3. Now, Cool with some double magnets. World with a magnet of his own as well. He's just going to cycle through the missile in the meantime, but we do have Sungbin with double boost, so it looks like Sungbin perhaps already positioning to be that pull anchor for his teammates' magnets.
And Hyunsu has the lightning to bait out the Angels from the side of KWANGDONGFREECS when needed, so I'm sure KWANGDONGFREECS is scrambling right now to pick up more Angels.
Yeah, but they're happy to just eat that one, though, for the time being. They're still relying on the fact that they can try to set up an Angel and boost here from Sungbin, and then the teammates try to catch up with Magnus. The problem is you've got some similar ideas on the side of Liiv SANDBOX, so Sungbin, he's going to have to keep up on the first position as he gets slowed down just a tad bit. Insu's up top. He's actually taking the first place.
Along with Cool, it's a fight right now for first position. There's some Magnus all targeting Insu, targeting Cool as well. Now here comes Insu in first place, but no, it's Jimin who manages to secure it for Liiv SANDBOX.
Ooh, a nice finish there. I mean, we saw kind of the body blocking trying to come into play from both teams as well, as the magnets were used to try to get a lead over the jump across the Ferris wheel. Now, Insu towards the end, not only is he getting magneted, he's also trying to body block, so he takes a very tight drift, just making way for his teammates, and Jimin finds the right angle to just inch ahead and cross the finish line first.
And you look at the color coding, it's blue, red, blue, red, blue, red. This is what I call a beautiful teamwork coming out of Liiv SANDBOX to secure that victory.
Yeah, but
even in item mode, you know, it doesn't matter, but I like seeing that better.
Yeah, but you saw that there at the top of the scoreboard, there was 1/1000th of a second difference between first and second place. I mean, Jimin barely crossing the finish line first, but SANDBOX not one to complain there. If they can get that win, they'll happily get it. Now, Cool using that pad boost first to jump off, get the speed. Now he's trying to make way for his teammates as well, but meanwhile he gets slowed down, and Jimin just able to not lose any speed there on the last turn. He actually even goes on the outer side, but he's still able to maintain his top speed, cross the finish line first.
That's what's kind of sad about item mode, is if you're the first to lift your head, then you're pretty much going to get targeted by all the magnets in the world. And honestly, that's what does make item mode fun as we now enter track number 2, Factory Cogwheel Crush. Off we go in item round number 2. Liiv SANDBOX leading the score right now 1-0 against KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yep, Spear just slowing down to make sure he picks up some weapons, but it's just going to be a water bomb. Not going to be too happy about that one, but again, there is quite a bit of time. Now the problem is, on a track like this, again, another 2-lapper here on the factory modes, I mean, you're not going to have too many opportunities to cycle it through, right? You really want to be able to try to save up for whatever you can. Something just narrowly dodging that banana coming in from the track.
Yeah, bananas can definitely be tricky to dodge unless you're preemptively aware of it, and our players are definitely right now taking their time to dodge out whatever's necessary. Seungha is speeding up for the side of Liiv SANDBOX, picking up a magnet and a shield.
Yeah, World, I think, just probably swerving to see if there's a water balloon coming here right there on the ramp, as it does narrow down just a tad bit. Meanwhile, Shortcut's going to open up, so I think, yep, all 3 racers eventually make it in.
My, it is a shortcut indeed, because you can literally feel the speed increase by so much when you go through that. It creates such a big lead for you when you're able to enter it, but on the other hand, if you miss it, that can create some punishable moments.
Yeah, I mean, you really got to keep your eye on that timer as it charges up as you're approaching that section of the track and make your choice. Now, World just getting hit a little bit by that water bomb. Meanwhile, we are on the second lap out of 2, taking a look at the arsenals. Quite a few boosts all across, and Seungha up front with a shield and a magnet, so he's going to be able to try to keep on to the lead if he wants.
Jimin, he's taking a bit of a drift there to pick up the item for sure, and now Sungbin is coming in with 2 other members of KWANGDONGFREECS. A banana gonna catch Sungbin off guard.
Yeah, that's going to mess things up just a tad bit. Now, Jimin with a boost up front. He doesn't have any other items, but Seungha's got a magnet and a shield as well. So if Jimin can just try to get ahead with the boost, they do have some form of a setup here. Both of them actually now with shields as well. And Seungha's going to use his first. He's drawn the aggro. Jimin, he's safe for the time being. He can enter the shortcut afterwards. He should be able to boost, but here comes a UFO.
It's Jimin and Seungha right now in the front. UFO slows down Seungha now. It's Sungbin and Spear in the front. Spear looks uncontested here, coming in first place for Kwangdong Freaks.
Oh, the UFO as the exit, the shortcut. I mean, Jimin still had a shield at that time. He actually pops it to try to make sure he's in position to boost up onto the first floor and then be that anchor pull for his teammate to magnet. But Kwangdong Freaks, they use the UFO, and then they're set up for their own slingshot to be able to make sure they push Spear across the finish line.
I really love how today we're seeing so many usage of the UFOs coming out. It definitely feels like there's a crack in that magnet and booster meta, because if you rely on that too much, you do lack the angels. And also EMP waves, because you don't have the item space for that. And UFOs have been able to turn a lot of matches around today.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a lot about, do you take the risk of trying to cycle through? I mean, do you also account, do you just say, someone over in the middle of the pack or far behind? Maybe at that point, you're really just trying to cycle through your items. I mean, there's a lot to consider here, but that time around, it was the Kwangdong Freaks, now tied 1-1 in item mode. Kwangdong Freaks trying to bring this to an ace match as we enter track number 3. It's Mind Magma Cavern. And they're off. Kwangdong Freaks just trying to drag out this race just a bit further to have a chance to get to the grand final.
Spear, he was actually going to stick around in the back there and pick up the 2 items, but he picked up 2 boosters, so now you can see him change his playstyle. He's like, all right, team, I'm going to the front now. Cover for me.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, you got to cycle through them one way or another. You do want some more options here. He'll gladly hide on, or rather hold on to one of those boosts, because you don't know when it'll come into handy. Now Magma Cavern.
Ooh, Songbin with the sweep.
A nice sweep here in item mode, just bumps off one of the members over on the other side. Now Songbin, he's also going to get slowed down himself. But yeah, this track, I mean, you can have some sweeping. You can have some good water bombs. There are some narrow sections and lots of places to fall off, so you'll have to really be careful of the positioning of your opponents.
Yeah, and you have to be wary of UFOs, especially Wool getting slowed down. You can see the impact of that. He got slowed down all the way to the 8th place. Now Jimin in the front of the pack is going to fall behind to utilize his water bomb.
Just a little bit of a catch there. Insu trying to ride the edge of the track as much as possible. Avoid any casualties on that side. Hyunsu now catching up with a magnet of his own. Meanwhile, the Freaks just cycling through an Angel here to make sure, and an EMP to block off. Oh, nice little dodge from World, but Insu's still going to find a way to get ahead.
Insu being ahead paid off big time because he managed to dodge the water bomb. However, he crashed into the wall there, so now all momentum lost. It's World versus Jimin, Hyunsu, and Cool.
Yeah, now World, just an Angel. He's going to want to...
He's trying. Cool execution, but he couldn't.
Yeah, Cool just trying to make sure he's sweeping against Jimin. Both of them trying to play for recovery as well. Now, meanwhile, World, he does get a boost for his troubles alongside the Angel, so he's in good position to be this anchor if he wants for Cool. Cool with the magnet and boost as well, but Jimin is ahead with his own magnet. It's really going to come down to who's able to use their item first, and the mind games that comes down to the timing.
Jimin right now has a shield. He gets slowed down by the UFO. Now it's Seungha and World, but no, it's 2 members of Kwangdong Freaks, Cool and Spear, going to be able to jump right into the finish line, bringing up the score 2-1 against Liiv SANDBOX.
And this is why we see a lot of teams prioritize the magnet and the boost, right? I mean, if you have more than one member with it, even if you fall behind, you can actually save to use yours next. As you see your opponents trying to slingshot forward, you actually bring them back, use them as the anchor, and fly above them as we saw here at the end of the track. I mean, Cool and Spear just taking a hefty lead in that last jump, but again, the risk is then you don't have as many defensive options. This time it works out for Kwangdong Freaks.
Yeah, we're absolutely neck to neck here today between Liiv SANDBOX and Kwangdong Freaks. The speed mode going all the way down to round 7. Item mode, it's 2-1. No team here wants to give up that advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Liiv SANDBOX, they've always looked so strong in item mode, but today they're struggling just a bit more than usual. But first of all, we did see a lot of nice sweeps. Yeah, I mean, what a great bump on Jimin. Absolutely calculated.
And I believe this is where Cool might have tried to attempt an execution.
No, he's just going to slingshot forward. Yeah, this is right
Yeah,
at the end here with the Magnet and the boost. The Angel's coming in from his teammate as well. But if you have one person with the Angel, the rest with the Magnet and the boost, obviously it's going to be an excellent boost forward and a jump there towards the end. Fans on both sides of the stadium as we enter track 4, Guangdong Freaks. Now in the lead in item mode, trying to bring this to an ace match. We're going to be going to Desert Pharaoh's Path.
We are here in item round number 4 of the upper bracket finals. Liiv SANDBOX, if they win in the item mode, they're able to move on to the finals.
Yeah, they'll get to the grand finals first. Meanwhile, the losing team, if that happens, Guangdong Freaks would have to play against Aura tomorrow. Same thing could go for SANDBOX, so if this goes to an ace match, they're in risk of having to play yet another team race tomorrow against Aura, who is looking like they are on fire these past couple races.
Yeah, and I like the dodge from Spear and Sungbin there on the water bombs. They really executed it perfectly. 1, 2, 3, 4 now for Guangdong Freaks.
Yeah, and Sungbin even just making sure to use a little bit of stop blocking there against Liiv SANDBOX to make sure that they don't all catch up, that Guangdong Freaks able to still hold on to the lead for the time being.
Yep, but now we do see a UFO being held by Sungbin. No EMP waves around to defend against that one.
Yeah, just going to be able to use it. You know, Sungbin's going to hold on to his. Meanwhile, we saw UFO and EMP prior barricades being used. But Sungbin's still holding on to that UFO you mentioned. So I got to imagine that this is part of the game plan here, a bit of an insurance. But Jimin now has an EMP. Curious to see if he just holds on to that to the very end. Yeah,
now there's the counterplay from Jimin. And he's absolutely holding it right now. And once they realize that, of course, the UFO was instantly used.
Yeah, just used and cycled through on both sides. So now the Lightning, the UFO, all cycled through. Meanwhile, many members with magnets and boosts on both teams, so they do have one win condition each, but it's a matter of who sets up to be that better anchor up front.
Jimin taking some blocks on Spear there, but Spear, if he picks up, he's already got it actually. He doesn't even need to pick up anything. He's got the magnet and booster, so he's just waiting for the opportunity.
Yeah, dude, we see a couple early magnets being used here to enter into the last section. Meanwhile, World has cycled through onto a UFO, and I don't know if Liiv SANDBOX is going to be aware of this. Even if they try to get the jump right at the end, the UFO might be used, but Sungbin, he's not making way for it just yet. He's still holding on to number 1. Oh, the banana's going to have some action as well. Meanwhile, the UFO doesn't even need to be used.
Oh, Sungbin!
Nice block there against Jimin's magnet near the end. Crosses the finish line first.
Yeah, Jimin all of a sudden came out, speeds blazing across, and we thought maybe Jimin is going to shake things up, but Sungbin with the block to make sure that doesn't happen. Now bringing the score up to a 3-1. Guangdong Freaks looking pretty good here in item mode.
Guangdong Freaks, our item mode has been getting better and better, it seems, and I mean, they needed that as well, as much as they looked unbeatable in speed mode. They didn't look like the perfect team just yet, but now they're starting to prove that even Liiv SANDBOX, their item mode can be broken. Guangdong Freaks now leading 3-1.
Yeah, right now, our next track is going to be match point. Guangdong Freaks wins it, then we get an ace match between the two teams, and that would be a treat to see for us, the viewers and the casters, because we didn't get one today earlier on. And we all love ace matches. They're exciting.
Oh, I mean, they are so exciting from a viewer's perspective, of course. So I would like nothing more than to see these two teams face off in yet another ace match. I missed that there from Hyunsu, just really locking down Sungbin. But yeah, look at this positioning. Jimin just trying to magnet on the outside, and Sungbin's well aware of it.
And that awareness is what gave Guangdong Freaks the win. And wow, cute little drawing for Guangdong. This is Guangdong, they say.
Yeah, just the rabbit cheering here for Guangdong Freaks. Meanwhile, SANDBOX now the one looking like they are under a bit of pressure as they now have to play catch up. We're going to be entering round 5 of item mode. Can Guangdong Freaks bring it to an ace match, or will SANDBOX start to close things out? It's Mind Motherload. Guangdong Freaks with some excellent setups in the past couple tracks, looking rejuvenated here in item mode. Can they bring us to the ace match? Let's find out.
So now waited absolutely to the T to pick up those double item boxes. The water bomb did not get great usage. However, this is a 3-lapper track. double water bomb for Insu.
Yeah, and again, we saw this earlier as well, but there are these jumps and these shortcuts, so the timing can be used there. It's a couple drops as well, where you can try to take the upper line or magnet someone so that they get caught on the drop or the jump.
Yeah, but you see the water bomb actually going to be able to catch players both on the bottom and top of that track, getting a lot of value. Now, we do see an EMP wave quickly cycle through. No reason to hold that if you don't see a UFO on the opposing side.
Yeah, Sungha just using a magnet himself to try to catch up to Spear. Spear actually getting dragged behind
barricade.
so hard. Barricades and water bombs galore. Lots of aggressive action here in the first lap. Now, again, this track fairly narrow for the majority of it, so we're going to constantly see those in use. And the Shields and Angels, they're going to have a lot more value.
Right, Cool is going to be able to use that shield to block out that water bomb from coming in, but the UFO is going to slow him down. Now it's Spear going to get missiled out of contention.
Yeah, UFO right away just to catch back up. You still have another lap and a half to be able to cycle through your items, so Cool not wasting any time to cycle through that. Meanwhile, World does have an EMP. He's actually just going to use it to try to cycle through, but doesn't get another item for his troubles. Looks like that might have been slightly this time. Yeah,
Spear now is going to be able to utilize the UFO EMP being swapped out by Sungha here. Now Cool, he's got a banana, and he sneaks one onto Jimin.
Yeah, then Jimin gets wasped as well. Gonna have a hard time climbing up that incline there to try to regain his speed. But now we enter lap 3. Insu just lining himself up for a potential water bomb, and it's good for 2.
Definitely some good stuff coming out. Now the Lightning going to be able to bait out the Angel here. Now only one Angel on the side of Hyunsu. We are going for the shortcuts. All players managed to make it across. We're in the 3rd lap, and the Lightnings are huge.
Yeah, no Angels yet in sight for KWANGDONG. They don't really have any other options. They do have an EMP, but now the Magnet, can it be enough? A nice block from Hyunsu to try to keep the lead against his opponents.
Right now, Hyunsu is all the hope for Liiv SANDBOX. 2, 3, 4 for KWANGDONGFREECS, and we have World trying to come in. Here's the Angel being popped out.
Yeah, here comes the UFO as well. The EMP is used, but Spear can't heal. No, Sungha bolts across as everyone eventually gets pushed off against each other on the narrow ramp, and he just slingshots forward across the finish line.
That was a really close one for Liiv SANDBOX there. If they lost that, then it was an ace match happening, but now they have a bit more breathing room. They're bringing the score up to a 2-3.
Yeah, I mean, even the observers and we were all kind of focused on Spear, able to just kind of go through without a fight here towards the last ramp, but Sungha saving up his speed, based items like the Magnet and the Boost, able to slingshot way across out of everyone's field of vision. Now they're keeping things interesting here in item mode.
Definitely, we see Insu now. He's all serious in games, focused on his team comms. No time for the camera.
This is not the time for the camera, even for Insu. He wants to make sure that they can close things out, don't want to risk it on an ace match. Of course, neither team would get knocked out of the tournament just yet, but they would have to come back for yet another back-to-back match tomorrow.
And hopefully, both teams here today are looking to take another lead here on track number 6. It's going to be Forest Mushroom Cave. Off we go. Once again, a match point here for KWANGDONGFREECS. If they win this one, then it's an ace match.
Yeah, now this one, of course, the early sections of the track, it is quite narrow, but it really opens up towards the end there with the tree stump. So curious to see what the item usage is here. Just a 2-lapper in that sense.
Right, and we see right now a complete domination of the positions for Liiv SANDBOX. Sungha tried to go for a sneaky banana there. Shield going to be able to dodge out the water bomb.
Yeah, just an EMP already in place for Sungha as well.
Okay, beautifully dodged.
Yeah, I can't imagine the EMP is going to stick around for too long, as we already see just tons of aggression from both sides. We've still got missiles and water balloons on both sides, and they will all connect here.
I am absolutely loving the aggression here. The water bombs and the whips are popping off everywhere right now. Even the UFO coming in. Hyunsu going to take that tight line to try to avoid some of these attacks.
Yeah, meanwhile, he's still going to get slowed down. Still not enough shields and angels here, because you also want to try to save these up for the second lap. You're still going to have enough time and space to catch back up here in item mode. So now we'll see a little bit of a calming down session here for both teams.
Yeah, it seemed like Sungha there was taking an interesting turn to try to go for the sweeping. But now we do see World and Sungbin holding that 1-2. Angel and Shield to draw out the aggro.
Yeah, then the boost and magnet from Sungbin as well, so whether he uses it on World or if it's going to be used against someone else who's trying to slingshot forward from SANDBOX, if they want to do that, Freaks will have to slow down just a bit so they have room to be able to determine and diagnose the situation.
Yeah, an Angel being popped there from both teams. Not only Jimin holding onto the Angel from the both teams. It's all magnet and boost right now. EMP wave not very helpful.
Yeah, but a great setup here. Spear can boost forward and Sungbin can try to catch up with his own boost and magnet. That's going to be the play. Same thing coming in from Insudo. Can he get away? No! The water bomb blocks off so many members of KWANGDONG FREECS. And now it's going to be Hyunsu who gets in safely alongside his duo Insu.
That last phase was so crazy. Everyone popping their magnet and boosters. Water bomb all of a sudden coming in and getting so many members. But it is Liiv SANDBOX now coming in, tying up the score 3-3.
A great setup from Liiv SANDBOX. And to be able to time a water bomb like that during a boost and magnet session, that's a lot of coordination and a lot of awareness on distance. So very, very well played here from Liiv SANDBOX. Gotta give a round of applause.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX, the team that we all thought was potentially the best item mode team in the KDL preseason. Coming in hot, showing why they were considered that, and we saw a sign saying, never panic for Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, I mean, so far they haven't, right? I mean, yeah, they started to lose the lead here in item mode, but they're able to claw right back, and we're going to be going to the very last track here. Again, I mean, speed mode, also a 4-3 score line here for Liiv SANDBOX, this time 3-3. Will SANDBOX get yet another 4-3 victory, or will the KWANGDONG FREECS now clap back as they try to go to an ace match? Ladies and gentlemen, down to the wire between the two titans of the Kart Rider Drift League. It's KWANGDONG FREECS versus Liiv SANDBOX on Glacier Polar Half Pipe. One last team track between the two teams to decide who goes to their grand finals, or if we go to an ace match. KWANGDONG FREECS trying to bring it to the ace match. SANDBOX, they just want to finish the night nice and early.
Yeah, it's interesting that Spear got targeted by the missile there because he was already all the way in 8th place. So a spin around missile coming in, putting a lot of emphasis on keeping Spear out.
Yeah, it's just a couple sweeps here. I mean, both these teams, they love to play aggressively, even in speed mode. So it's no surprise that they're all so aware of each other. Cool, just trying to make sure he doesn't get hit by any crazy water bombs here, and then make sure he sweeps back in for another item. Yeah,
we see the bananas and missiles and UFOs being traded out here. We have many Angels on both teams. Not a lot of magnets and boosters.
Yeah, so far, lots of aggression. Lightning in store here for Jimin as well. The Wisps almost always being used instantly just to get a slight edge. Now entering lap 2 of 3. A couple UFOs in play. One of them already going to be cycled out.
We know, Will, that in Glacier Polar Halfpipe, magnets or boosters are pretty pivotal because of that top half of the track and how you can interact with it.
Yeah, we're going to probably see it right here.
Oh my!
Oh, Sunga gets knocked right at the edge of the jump. What is that timing? Now, Hyunsu still lands safely, and that's what we were talking about. Peter mentioning that shortcut of a bit. Now, of course, if you go up there, you're not going to be able to contend for as many items here, and that's kind of the trade-off. But Hyunsu, happy to take it for the time being. We'll see if it happens again on lap 3.
Right, and now we see a lot of boosters across the board coming into lap number 3. Our players putting heavy emphasis on that, and we have to keep our eyes on when they're going to use it and who's going to be the one to go for a crazy sweeping play.
Yeah, curious to see if any members of KWANGDONG FREECS try to slow down Insu here on the jump. They're actually just going to use the UFO right away, so Insu still has an opportunity to try to get back into the lead here as we get into the shortcut area. Oh, a little bit of a fight here, and no one going to use their full boost to get up to the top, just trying to make sure they sweep against each other.
Yeah, they're just trying to pick up the items, but it's actually World who managed to make it up there alone. He's going to get targeted by all the magnets now. Seungha speeding across.
Yeah, but there's still more magnets in store as well. Spear's got one more. Can he try to target it? It's actually the UFO. It gets EMP'd, and Seungha now staying in first place. But there comes a magnet in from Spear. He actually even uses it to block the opponents, and World gets in safely. A great play from KWANGDONG FREECS. None of them taking the initial shortcut, sending World in sneakily to take the first lead. He gets targeted by Seungha to catch up, but Liiv SANDBOX just one step rushed in that last Arsenal play as we had a couple more items in store from the KWANGDONG FREECS.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed going to an ace match today. And how much more exciting can it be seeing an ace match being played out between KWANGDONG FREECS and Liiv SANDBOX?
Oh man, now the last time they played against each other was World versus Neil, and I believe that was the one where Neil makes a bit of a mistake trying to block against World, not able to catch back up. Now the question is will it be Neil or Insu most likely on the side of SANDBOX? Meanwhile, KWANGDONGFREECS, as they always like to do for the ace match, the coach comes on stage and they will all go through a meeting to decide which of the 4 players, because any of them could enter this ace match.
You can't forget that there is a last dance on the line for Liiv SANDBOX, so you have to assume that the ace match opportunity is going to go to one of the players who are having their final season here in Preseason 1. Whereas KWANGDONGFREECS, they've diversified who came out so far. Once it was World, the other time it was Sungbin, and they both won, so they have a really strong arsenal in their hands.
Yeah, I am curious, you know, on who that's going to be on the side of SANDBOX. I mean, there would be a lot of meaning behind letting Insu or Seungha enter if it's between those two, most likely Insu, but at the same time, I mean, this is the first preseason. You want to make sure, while it would be great to have kind of a nice hurrah send-off for your teammate, it's got to be whoever's in the best condition and depending on which track it is as well.
Yeah, then that UFO came in. Jimin tried to shield away whatever he can, but there were just too many attacks targeting him, and it was KWANGDONGFREECS now being able to come all the way here to an ace match after both speed and item going all the way down to round number 7. These players must be mentally and maybe even physically exhausted, so you have to wonder who's in the best form right now.
Yeah, well, last time it was a winding slopes, World versus Neil. Neil with a slight mistake as they were entering that cave section with the pipes, bumps into the wall and allows World to get ahead. Now SANDBOX, there's Seungha on camera, Jimin on the right as well.
Seungha and Insu, the last dance players.
Oh, Neil's putting on his headset.
Oh, does that mean something,
I
Will?
think it might be Neil. I mean, he looks like he's the most ready to play another race of kart rider here, so perhaps just feeling it today. I mean, we'd have to take a look at the track as well.
Yeah, but what if he's baiting us? You know, Neil likes to joke around.
I mean, that could happen. Yeah, we've seen that happen, but it's going to be Pharaoh's Pass, so quite a straightforward track. Now, we've seen it before in an ace match as well. There's still a couple opportunities to really play some mind games as you enter kind of that loop-de-loop as you go into the indoor area. Really try to pressure your opponent into making a forced mistake.
Especially in a 1v1, it's so big because if you make a mistake, there's no teammate to try to cover for the distance you lost. So this is definitely going to be a track where the mind games are going to be played out constantly, and I wonder who the players will be.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, a rematch between World and Neil, maybe. That could be exciting as well. A little bit of redemption for Neil as well, and World just really trying to prove himself. But
oh, Insu!
Oh, Insu, he says, no, it's me. I'm here. I'm trying to make sure my last dance is a heroic one. And Insu, I mean, what a story it would be if he can win the ace match, go to the grand finals first.
I told you, Will, Neil's a prankster.
Yeah, he likes
you can't
to do
trust
that.
him.
Putting in his friggin' noise-canceling headset on the camera, that guy. You'll love him as well. But right now, all eyes on Insu. Now World going up against a second ace match against Liiv SANDBOX. Now another new opponent in the form of Insu.
And if World can prove himself again, then we might as well start seeing World as truly the ace match player for KWANGDONGFREECS. And then right now, we're already ready. There's no more to talk about. The action's about to begin in our ace match versus World and Insu in Desert Pharaoh's Pass.
And they're off. Ace match. Just 3 laps to decide who will go to the grand finals first in Preseason 1 of the Kart Rider Drift League. It's KWANGDONGFREECS World versus Liiv SANDBOX Insu.
Ooh, World looked like he hugged the line too tightly there. He did go into the wall a little bit, but he's still maintaining the lead. Insu just going for a straight boost.
And Insu's actually just well ahead in terms of boost gauge as well here. So World now just trying to catch up there, of course, on those kind of loop-de-loop hairpins. You do have an opportunity, but Insu feeling fairly tough. World setting himself up to make sure he can try to cut and sweep against Insu, but Insu's not going to get any sort of phasing out of that.
Yeah, Insu definitely keeping up the lead nicely, but now it's World who manages to find the angle and breaks through the defense of Insu.
Yeah, but look at Insu. I mean, he's just so well aware. He's actually not even going to play any sort of risky place here on the indoor area. You still have another lap. You just want to make sure you're in range to be able to always find another opportunity to catch up. Insu not taking any big risks just yet.
Yeah, but now this is the third lap, so our players are going to start to bring out their hidden strategies. Insu and World taking the same exact lines, and we see Insu attempting the draft.
Oh, but he gets knocked right into the wall. World able to keep up his momentum as he's able to get a bit of a momentum into the draft as well against Insu. Now Insu getting another draft right now. World, he's trying to make sure he stays ahead. Insu might have one more opportunity here in the last corner. He's positioning himself forward. He wants to enter the inside line, but World's not giving him room. World's staying ahead, and
so
World
close!
Enters into first place. Even World double checking if he was surely ahead or if it was a tie, but World is able to beat out Insu. World now 2-0 in ace matches against Liiv SANDBOX.
That really looked like it could have gone either way at the end there. Insu coming in, but just a fraction of a second too late. And it was such a close race between the two players. You can see the adrenaline on World.
Yeah, I mean, look at the timing there. 0.026, right? I mean,
literally a fraction almost.
Yeah, it's just 100th of a second, 200ths of a second, and World able to prove himself against, I mean, these just history talented players in both Neil last time and now in Insu. And I mean, I'm sure for Insu fans and Insu himself, I mean, this is his last season in the league here. Would have been nice to have a victory in the ace match, but they're not out just yet. Of course, you do have another opportunity to rematch against GWANGDONG in the grand finals if they're able to beat Aura tomorrow.
Aura, the final boss waiting in the line now. You have to wonder how they feel about Liiv SANDBOX being their opponent. They definitely have to prepare around that now as we take a look at the result of today. Speed going 4-3 in favor of Liiv SANDBOX. Item going 4-3 for GWANGDONGFREECS. And ultimately, it was the ace match that gave the victory over to GWANGDONG.
And literally the maximum number of tracks you can play here in this best of 7 format. GWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX once again proving why they were hailed as the two titans entering the very first preseason of KDL. But it's going to be GWANGDONGFREECS now. That means they cement a guaranteed second place finish in the overall team league. And they're also in contention for the first ever winner of the KDL as they await in the grand finals.
Honestly, both teams showed such a good showing today, and it could have gone either way at any point. We've had the most back and forth definitely in terms of matches, because we've never had a best of 7 so far, and nor have we seen it go down all the way to the 7th match in both matches. But if we take a look now, and the standings are finalized.
Yeah, this is what the playoff bracket now looks like. Aura beats Rocks to survive here in the tournament, and they were waiting for their opponent. Meanwhile, we're going to have GWANGDONGFREECS, who wins their upper bracket final. They go to the grand finals, and Liiv SANDBOX, having taken that loss, they will now have to race against Aura once again tomorrow. That's going to be tomorrow. I mean, this is just back-to-back non-stop action. So make sure you stay tuned and visit us again tomorrow, same time. But let's take a look at how the matches panned out today so far.
Yep, in the beginning it was Aura versus Rocks. They took a 4-0 clean sweep in speed, while in item mode it came really close against Rocks, but they managed to tie it out. And honestly, I feel like Aura, they showed a good showing today, and going against a team like Liiv SANDBOX, they still have a really good chance.
I think so. I'm starting to think I might favor Aura just a tad bit in speed mode.
All right.
I just think the way they're playing, I mean, the way they played against the Rocks today, it was very clear that they had a picture-perfect winning game plan against Rocks, and I can only imagine that they have some similar ideas up against Liiv SANDBOX. Now, Liiv SANDBOX not as one-dimensional as Rocks in speed mode. However, I mean, Aura, they look scary right now.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be interesting to see the adaptations come into play. Especially, you have to have wonder that the strategies for fighting against Liiv SANDBOX, fighting against GWANGDONGFREECS had to be completely different, because although both teams are so good, they do have different playstyles. And now, especially seeing Aura with their playstyle today, 1-2 contention. That was their game plan. We might see it again.
Yeah, now I know like a lot of fans of Kart Rider Drift here in Korea were just saying before the match like, oh, well, now that I know that Insu and Seungha is their last season, I kind of just want SANDBOX to win and go all the way to the grand finals. But here's the thing, Aura, as much as I'm sure they, really would like to see their friends succeed, at the same time, they don't want to miss this chance either, right? They're in such a good position to try to make a crazy run to the grand finals.
Beating out Rock, stopping Jong's momentum, and then
Yeah.
beating out Liiv SANDBOX, the initial season favorite, would definitely be quite the road that Aura could build for themselves. And that's why we are super excited to bring you guys some matches tomorrow.
Yeah, that should be exciting, but let's take a look at how the two matches played out today. We started with the lower bracket finals, of course, a 4-0 clean sweep in speed mode from Aura. That's why I was saying I think they look scarier than ever. But then Rox Esports puts up a good fight in item mode.
Yep, Rox, we thought it was going to be speed where they put up a good fight, but completely throwing us off there. Unfortunately, no ace match happened. So, Aura, if you're a fan of Aura, that's exactly what you want. No score in that set 3 ace match.
Yeah, just an excellent showing from Aura, not even allowing that risky ace match against Rox Esports' superhero Jung. And that allows them to stay alive. Meanwhile, of course, that means we said goodbye to Rox Esports here in the very first season of the KDL. And Aura, with that victory, they move on to face their next opponent, which was determined by the upper bracket finals here in the playoffs of KDL Preseason 1.
Right, and then we take a look at the result once again between KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX. If you guys missed a single moment of this match, you guys should definitely go back and rewatch it because you're in for a treat, a long battle between the two teams.
Yeah, I mean, you could have just seen kind of the aggression and the respect that both these teams gave to each other in terms of understanding how good each other are. Even in that ace match, I mean, it was very rare to see Insu put so much respect to World, not wanting to try to force any sort of high-risk, high-reward play and then make his own mistake, but that allows World to eventually cross the finish line first. And World now a 2-0 victory in his record in ace matches against Liiv SANDBOX. That's got to be something that he's very proud of in his personal career.
KWANGDONGFREECS is looking super scary right now in the ace matches for sure. If you want to beat them, then you have to be ready with your speed ace to be able to perform against players like World, and that's going to be really interesting to see, of course, in the grand finals.
Yeah, and also KWANGDONGFREECS and Liiv SANDBOX, obviously these two brands, within the Kart Rider League have always kind of had this rivalry story between themselves. KWANGDONGFREECS always playing second fiddle. They were runner-up 3 times in a row last year.
Right.
The very last one was actually against Liiv SANDBOX, so I'm sure they're very happy to beat them this time. But however, they still have the grand finals left. Liiv SANDBOX might come back for another rematch and take them down when it matters.
They would honestly be like, oh, it's you again. We meet again, old friend.
Yeah,
but
again.
they definitely prefer Aura in that sense. Maybe they want to taste something new. When you have food, the same thing too many times, you get sick of it. You want to refresh your palate.
Yeah, could be. Well, tomorrow, that's going to be Liiv SANDBOX and Aura. See who gets to get their rematch against KWANGDONGFREECS. And then after that, we continue our solo matches. We're not done with those yet either. It's going to be the final round of 16 match to see which 4 players will still be able to get that extra chance to get in to the final 8 of the solos.
And although it's a chance for the players, those players are so good. When you take a look at their tags, World, Speed, Jimin, Ding, Neil, Sungbin, Perfect, and Spell, you know these players and you recognize them because they've done so well so far in the KDL preseason.
Yeah, I mean, we even just saw World, Jimin, and Neil today in the matchup between SANDBOX and FREECS, and then there's players like Speed and Ding, and Perfect, where we don't get to see them anymore in the team matches, but they're surviving to represent not only their team but themselves here in the solo mode to prove themselves. And yeah, I mean, any 4 of these players moving on would not be surprising, but my eyes specifically are on World and Neil, right? Do they continue to prove that they're just one clear step ahead of their competition?
And Jimin, the only item ace left in the solo match, will he be able to prove that item aces are actually good at speed kind of matches too?
Yeah, I mean, also, the free-for-all solo mode is different from team mode speed as well, so that's a whole different ball game. Jimin, of course, doing very well for himself so far. See if he's able to survive into the final 8 as we enter the last phases of KDL Preseason 1.
Speaking of final, because you keep saying that word, you see Speed there all alone from Sensation.
Yep.
I feel like Sensation, they've had so much hype on their backs coming into preseason. They haven't delivered. Now Speed is the only one that can continue their legacy.
Yeah, that's a lot that rides on him, right? That's quite a bit of pressure as well, but he's proven that you know, he has the capability to carry that pressure with him. See if he can really put Sensation's name there, you know, on the radar in the final 8 as well. This is all tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see at the top, it's going to be 6 p.m. KST. It's the same start time as today, and we'll have that team match and the solo final round of 16.
I have a suggestion here, Will. Let's do a caster prediction right now. Aura versus Liiv SANDBOX. You go first.
SANDBOX.
Oh,
I'm not
really?
even gonna.
You
let it
hyped
be
them up
suspenseful.
earlier. You hyped them up.
I think it can go to an ace match.
Yeah.
I think Aura can win speed mode.
Yeah.
But SANDBOX's item mode still is so strong that I think they'll be able to do well.
Well, I'll join you on that SANDBOX vote
All
because
right.
it is their last dance.
Exactly. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more KDL Preseason 1. We'll see you then.